Hello, fellow mood readers. Today, as part of October, we're still in the spooky season, I wanted to talk about some of the horror adaptations or horror thriller. So we're gonna walk that line. Anything that's pretty dark that could give you some scares or with that kind of spooky content. So some of these are going to have more thriller elements and less horror, but let's face it, even if you're being chased by a psychopathic killer, I think that's pretty scary still. I'm going to go over 10 of them. So if anything is missing from this list, it's probably because either some of these I haven't seen in a while, so I didn't want to pick them, or if I recently talked about the book, I kind of didn't want to re-go over it, like Pet Sematary. I didn't put that on this list, but it is a very good adaptation from the original. At least it holds that nostalgic place because I saw it a long time ago and recently rewatched it when the newer adaptation did come out, and I still prefer the original over the newer adaptation. But I didn't pick that because I did talk about Pet Sematary in my other video, so I wanted to kind of shout out some other ones. And some of these, it is going to be unavoidable because I did talk about one of these other ones in that, but I did choose some Stephen King because how can you talk about horror and not choose Stephen King? So it's going to kind of be a mix. So that's kind of how I won my battles. I had to pick somehow, and I kind of wanted to keep it around 10, a nice round number. Like I did 11 5-star books, but I really couldn't pick between those of which to leave off and which to talk about. So for this one, I wanted to choose some of the movies that I really enjoyed that I don't really get to talk about that much. So as I'm sure you've noticed from the title, this is about adaptations, not necessarily movies. It could be TV shows. So I did choose a few TV shows to talk about as well because there is one I did not complete yet, but I really enjoyed it, and I don't see these books being talked about really all that much. They highlighted a part of horror that was kind of like going through a lot, and I'm going to actually talk about that first. And that's going to be The Strain. I was watching this with Warren when the first season originally came out, and we saw the first and I believe the second season. We watched the whole thing, and I really enjoyed what I watched of it. And I really enjoyed these books. They brought vampires back to horror for me in a big way because I don't read too many vampire books, but I still haven't even read the original Dracula. I don't know about that one. We'll see if I get around to that. But I did really enjoy this. They did a great job with this between Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan. And I know they worked on another book, The Hollow Ones. Yeah, The Hollow Ones. I have it up on the shelf, but I didn't read that one yet. But this trilogy, and you see we got 3 books here. We have the original The Strain. The second book is going to be The Fall, and the third is The Night Eternal. These books I thought were fantastic, and I don't think anybody really is talking about these all that much. I've only seen a few people mention them. I really enjoyed this show as much as I've seen of it. I really want to continue since it is all on Hulu, I believe. So if you do want to check it out and you have Hulu, you can go and check it out. We did get the one of the box sets. It popped up in one of our local game stores, and it had like a bust figure, and we did get it. I think this series is definitely worth checking out. It's got a level of scariness to it that and it's so different with the way the vampires are. Honestly, with Guillermo del Toro, and I've never read Chuck Hogan, but this is my first time with Chuck Hogan, so I don't know how his other books are, but I highly recommend these, and I highly recommend the show. So if you are interested, like I said, the show is on Hulu, and I believe they have all of the seasons, so you should be able to check the whole thing out. I am going to get my series out of the way first. And if you haven't heard about this one or seen it, I'll be shocked. And it's going to be The Haunting of Hill House. And the series adaptation was done by Mr. Flanagan. So that one is on Netflix or you can physically buy this one and Bly Manor as well, but I really loved the adaptation of this one. I made the mistake of reading this directly after watching that, but I am going to give this one another shot, maybe on audio. I do better with classics on audio. For me, I really enjoyed his interpretation of it. It was very different from the source material, but it still kind of felt the same, what he was going for, and I just really enjoyed it, and I always still think about that adaptation, and I love it. So if you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend going and watching all of Mike Flanagan's series. They are amazing. My favorite of his is Midnight Mass, but watching Hill House was just an experience, and I really enjoyed it, and it actually made me want to read the book a little bit more. So I did enjoy this, but I think I'll get more of a full enjoyment out of it if I listen to the audiobook versus read the page. Sometimes, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's better for me to listen to classics, but this is beautiful. So, like I said, if you haven't heard of that adaptation or you haven't watched it yet, I'd be shocked, but definitely go check it out. And if you're interested, I would say pick up Shirley Jackson's book. So next up, I'm kind of going to talk about two things with this one because it was adapted multiple times. I'm going to go with The Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris. This is my beat up copy I got off of eBay because I couldn't find it. And back then I really just wanted to read the book. I didn't care much about editions, but I do want to get another better edition of this. But I want to talk about specifically this adaptation, but also I really enjoyed Mads Mikkelsen and the TV series that they had of this. I don't remember exactly. I know Will Graham is mostly in Red Dragon, but you can't just go into this with only talking about one or the other, because I think both of them have their merits. Both of them were great, but this one just, I don't know, Mr. Anthony Hopkins did a fantastic job. Jodie Foster, everybody involved in that was fantastic. And I think for the TV series, it was different enough without stepping on the toes. And I think they did a great job with both because you got a different look at both. So I didn't love all of the movie adaptations. My specific favorite is The Silence of the Lambs. It's a tough one not to mention, specifically with this, and it does toe that line a little bit with being like thriller or horror. I'm never sure if anybody's gonna be like, that's not horror, but I think it's close enough. Like, you have a cannibal and you have a serial killer and you have an FBI agent asking a cannibal for help, throwing all of those into the pot, but they're scary. People are scary. So Buffalo Bill was certainly something else. I really enjoyed this adaptation so much, well before I read the book, actually, because like I said, I bought this on eBay because I really wanted to read the source material, and I enjoyed it. But I think actually the movie, I really loved the movie, and I don't even remember on Goodreads what I rated these. If you've ever been curious about the original source material, I would say definitely give it a shot. I liked them, and I really loved the movies. It really cemented Anthony Hopkins in there for me as one of, he's just a fantastic actor, and anything he's in usually I will watch without a doubt. There are still some of his backlog I need to see. I didn't actually watch Hearts in Atlantis, which he was in, I believe, and Steve, it's back there also. I have the hardcover book. He is usually great in everything that I see him in, so, but this kind of just cemented it for me. He's an amazing actor. They are all amazing. So next up, I've got two that I do hear the first one at least I hear people talk about, but not necessarily the second one after that, but the rest on this list are probably going to be Stephen King. The next few are not Stephen King. I'm leaving all of his mostly towards the end, so that way I could talk about some of the other ones that I don't hear enough about. This next one, I know a lot of people do like it, and they like it for the twist, but I kind of also want to recommend reading the source material because I thought it was fantastic, and that's Shutter Island by Dennis Lehane. The movie was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed this book. So I'm gonna say if you've watched the movie and you want to read the book, definitely give it a try. He's actually written quite a few. Mystic River. As far as movies go, I feel like this author has been adapted quite a bit. I haven't seen those ones, and they're not, I don't believe all of them fall in horror categories. But like I said, I haven't read any of Dennis Lee Haynes' other books. I've actually only read Shutter Island. I just really loved I loved this one, and I loved the twist. For me, it definitely just threw me for a loop. So if you haven't seen the movie or read the book, I highly suggest both. It's up to you which order you prefer to do that in. I read the book before seeing the movie, but that doesn't always happen. So either or, I think, is best. Definitely give this one a shot. It was so good. I don't want to say too much without giving anything away. So for my next pick, I'm actually going to choose this book was included. I had to talk about it for 5-star reads because it was fantastic, and I never thought that characters I cared nothing about would make me cry, but it happened. Some portions of this, especially in the beginning, the characters really I didn't care for them. But as we started to get going and things started happening, and it did bring a tear to my eye, but it had some real estate to actually get me there. That is going to be The Ritual by Adam Neville. I don't see this on enough lists, and he finally started getting adaptations out. There is this one on Netflix, and No One Gets Out Alive is also one of his adaptations. I didn't read that one, so it didn't make this list, but I did see the adaptation, and I thought it was pretty good, so I can't wait to read that book. For now, I'm going to talk about The Ritual. I really enjoyed this. Super creepy, like I said. I thought they did a great job with the adaptation, but the book, I think, is still my favorite. The book was definitely better for me, in my opinion, so I definitely recommend doing both, because I really enjoyed them. Adam Neville is really great with the folk horror. So like The Reddening was great. It was slower than this, so I did give that one 4 stars, which is still fantastic. I'm going to put up a short with my rating system just so that you have an idea of how I rate things and what they mean to me, because I don't think 3 stars are a bad rating, but nothing here is going to be 3 stars, obviously, because I really enjoyed all of this stuff, but a 3-star is still enjoyable to me, and I do want to get that out to you because I do want to talk about it a little bit. I'm not sure whether I'll make it a short or whether I will make it more of a longer video and kind of give an example of each rating for me and what they mean. That's for later. Going back on task, I think The Ritual was a fantastic adaptation. I would definitely check him out. Check out Adam Neville. Check out any of those books. Like I said, The Ritual so far has been my favorite. I've only read the 2, this and The Reddening, but I do have No One Gets Out Alive and some of his other ones on my TBR. So if you enjoy any of these, please give a shout out and let me know down below what adaptations I should read and watch the book with, and which one you prefer. I think conversations like that are great, even if they add more books to a never-ending TBR. I still like to have that conversation, so I'd really like to know some of your favorites and see what you think of them. So next on my list, before I talk about the King of Horror, is going to be close to the King of Horror, because it's going to be Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son. And I'm going to go with The Black Phone. So The Black Phone is a short story. It can be found in the 20th Century Ghosts collection. And then later on they changed it to The Black Phone Stories. But I really enjoyed this adaptation. I liked the way that they didn't fully overly explain anything or make a backstory for this character. I thought that was fantastic. I really liked how the actors did like the roles. I thought that they were fantastic, and this mask is really nice and creepy. So I really wanted this cover, even though I already had this one. This is a great collection. There's some very interesting stories, and my favorite actually is all the way in the back. But I really liked The Black Phone. It was way shorter. I didn't expect it to be so short, but it was way shorter than I thought it would be. I just really liked how they didn't drag on the movie like super long and they didn't throw in things that didn't really belong. I thought they did a really good job with the things that they put in to kind of fill it in and didn't overly go into any backstory here, at least in this one. It didn't feel bloated or anything, and I just thought it was a very well done adaptation by Blumhouse. I definitely recommend checking out any of Joe Hill's stories. My first read of his was called The Fireman, and that was a great one. And then I listened to Kate Mulgrew read Nosferatu, which was also great. I didn't like, it was weird getting over some of the differences in that adaptation, but I never finished it. I do recommend reading the book. It's a great winter horror, like perfect for right around Christmas, but he does have callbacks to some of his father's works in there, so I definitely recommend giving Nosferatu a try. And Horns, actually. I watched Horns, but I haven't read the book yet, so that's not on this. Definitely check out Black Phone and read all the way to the back. Just saying. Read all the way to the back. So, we're going into the King of Horror section. So I'm not going to spend too long because I'm sure we've all seen a bunch of these or read a bunch of these. I really just love how some of the interpretations have been done. It was kind of a little bit harder to choose some and leave some out, but these are going to be the ones that I really like. These are going to be some of my favorites, and of course I did leave some off. Like I said, I'm not talking about Pet Sematary in this, but it is an honorable mention, so I'll just throw that out there. First is going to be one of the short story collections. This is my beat up copy. I still have to get, I want to get the nice hardback. If I happen to see it, I'll have to grab it. This one stood the test of time, my multiple readings. But it's going to be Everything's Eventual with the story 1408. And I absolutely loved that adaptation. I love the short story, but that adaptation was just really good. I'm surprised where people don't mention it. I don't see Everything's Eventual come up very much. I want to say definitely check it out if you haven't. I thought everybody did a great job in that one, and that's how you adapt a short story. Just like with the Black Phone, there wasn't too much overly done. I really enjoyed the way that they put that movie together, and I kind of liked how there were multiple endings. I don't want to talk about too much because it was a short story, but I'm sure you don't need much of a push if John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson are in the movie. But it's about this man who goes and stays in the most haunted hotel room that he can find. And no one usually, this hotel room is the cause of so many deaths. Not only supernatural deaths, but natural deaths, because I believe it gave them heart attacks. Check out this short story collection. I don't remember too many of the ones that are in there because it has been a while, even though, you could see the wear on the spine that I did. And this has moved several times with me, so it does have sentimental reasons. And it's beat up, but it's my copy. And I do want to get that nice hardback edition, like I said, but for now this is my copy, and I've read it so many times way back when. It was one of my only short story collections I think I had by Stephen King at this point. And it was nice to just go in and reread some of my favorite stories in here. I'm trying to remember what other stories are in here. Let's see. Oh, yes. Okay. So right off the bat, Riding the Bullet is in this collection as well. I'm sure you probably heard of that one if you've seen or read much of Stephen King. But also, I remember the very first story in here, Autopsy Room 4. That one was kind of insane. Just seeing the title made me remember it. But definitely check out this short story collection. My most recent short story collection that I read by Stephen King was Night Shift, which was also very good. They're fun and they're kind of nice because you get to take breaks. You don't have to keep going back, afraid you'll forget something. You could just read at your own pace and read the short stories as they go, or pick through them and read the ones that you want. So my next one will come as no surprise, and that's Misery. I watched the movie first for this one, I believe, but I really enjoyed this one. Kathy Bates, she's just fantastic in this, and you really can't think about this book without thinking about that adaptation, because it was fantastic. I thought the actors and actresses did a fantastic job. Kathy Bates was the perfect Annie Wilkes. Just thinking about how they cast her, and she was just perfect. And I think that this is one of my favorite adaptations of his work, aside from some of the ones by you know who. This one is also very accessible. It's not one of the longer King books, so it's not like super chunky. It's very reasonable if you don't like long books. I highly recommend reading this one. I think they did a good job in what they included and didn't include in the adaptation. So if you enjoyed the movie and you want to read the book, definitely do. Definitely give it a go. This one, it kind of goes a little bit more psychological, and it kind of goes a little bit more gory. Definitely more gory, and I'm sure you can think of some scenes from the movie that might possibly be gory, but there was a scene in here that I didn't expect. It was fantastic though. I definitely recommend this. Hopefully you know that she's his #1 fan. The next one, I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say that I enjoyed the movie adaptation more than the short story here. So we're going to go into the short stories once more with The Mist. And I can imagine you would understand why that movie was so fantastic. That ending, even if you haven't seen it in a while, you won't forget that ending. This is about the size here. I have one of the little single editions of this one. Previously, this short story was included in the Skeleton Crew, and it's joined by, it's the very first story in this one, and it's joined by the monkey, and I think the raft was in Creepshow, one of the Creepshow movies, if I'm not mistaken. Joining the monkey, which is coming out soon as its own movie, and other ones like The Word Processor of the Gods. This ending, I can't even just talk about anything else. I think you're gonna have to go and see the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, definitely do. We were planning a rewatch of it. I think we actually might watch it today, just because thinking about it and talking about it is just making me want to rewatch it. So I highly recommend this short story as well as the movie, but I actually prefer that movie ending. So I gotta say, I think that's one of the ones in this that is just, the movie was better. And let me know below which one you prefer. If you prefer the movie or the short story, I want to know your thoughts. So my next one might be a little bit of a controversial pick. I enjoy both of them separate from each other, but I can't talk about one without the other here. So my pick for this is going to be Dr. Sleep. And I can't talk about Dr. Sleep without talking about The Shining. This one, I originally read this on Kindle when it came out. I grabbed the Kindle version. Actually, I had the Kindle Fire, which I didn't love, but I still read books on it, so it was worth it. And then later I upgraded to this lovely hardback with Rose the Hat on it. I loved Mike Flanagan's adaptation of this a lot, and I really think what resonated so much for me was because he was tying together 3 different things. He was tying this to the source material, he was tying it to this, but he was also tying it to the adaptation of The Shining. And I think he did a fantastic job walking that line and threading that needle, and he knocked it out of the park for this. He did a great job bringing everybody together for this. Rose the Hat was amazing. Seeing her in the movie after reading her in here, she's a very memorable villain. And I think that I wasn't sure how I would like it, considering you're taking on a story that everybody really loved in one way or another. So if you like the Shining movie or you like the Shining book better, it really doesn't actually matter, because you get a little bit of everything in Mike Flanagan's adaptation of this. But when I first found out that Dr. Sleep was coming out, I like I said, I wasn't sure about it. Not the movie, but the book, actually, because I was like, you're gonna continue on Danny's story. I wasn't sure how to feel about it. I wasn't sure how good it would be, but leave it to Stephen King to actually come out with a really good sequel so many years later. And like, look at this back. What a scene, actually. I was thinking, like, what else could you have happened to this poor boy or man, you know, later on in life? But I really like how it came around in the book, and I really love how, just like I said, Mike Flanagan just brought everything together, and he gave the proper ending that, you know, it hit home, really, what should have happened a long time ago. If you've read this book and you watch the movie and you like both, you'll know what I mean, though. There's actually so many things that you could say about both of them, or all of them. I could see liking both of them for different reasons, because you're kind of going at Jack in a specifically different way. Starting out, Jack Nicholson already seems a little, you know, but in the book you're seeing Jack go from just this struggling man, you're seeing him kind of spiral, and you're not really getting that in the movie because he's already kind of spiraling. He's already kind of there. It really didn't take much more than a nudge there, but you get to see like a lot more in this. But the hotel itself and the certain things that happen, I think both of them have their merits, and I don't want to drag on either one of them. I think that I think they're just both good. But for me, I am going to say I really enjoyed the book so much. For me, the book is definitely better than the movie, but separately, I could think about it and still really like The Shining movie without taking away like any of my feelings about the book. I wanted to go into it thinking with an open mind, you know? I just think that they chose the perfect person to actually do this adaptation, because I thought he did a wonderful job. All three things, actually. He's holding all of them. He's getting the tone right. He's ending it perfect. I think you should watch both movies, read the books. Definitely let me know your thoughts on them. In Flanagan, we trust. So anything Mike Flanagan could be on this list, to be honest. I heard that he's doing more. I'm actually excited to see his newest adaptation, which is a Stephen King short story, and it's out of If It Bleeds. It's The Life of Chuck, and I can't wait to see that. I've been seeing him talk about it and seeing like all the actors and actresses talk about it. So I definitely am excited, and I think that if anybody can adapt Stephen King, it would be Mike Flanagan. Let me know below if you have any book and movie combos and which one you liked better. If you loved any of these, let me know if you liked book or movie better, or if you just love both. Sometimes I just love both and I don't pick one or the other, but sometimes, most of the time, for me, the book is better. But it has happened where I've loved a movie so much that I liked it better than the book. But for now, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to go rewatch The Mist soon. So until next time, bye.